Once upon a time, in a small village, there lived a young girl named Sophia. She was only 16 years old when her parents told her that she would be getting married to one of the village wealthy men, Chief Okoro, who was old enough to be her father. This was because Sophia's parents borrowed a huge amount of money from Mr. Okoro to repair their leaking roof, and unfortunately, they could not repair it at the due period. And for this reason, Mr. Okoro insisted that Sophia must be given to him as a wife. Sophia's parents pleaded with Mr. Okoro to give them some time to be able to pay back the money, but Okoro, known for his wicked and bad heart, refused to listen to them and also threatened to leg them up if they failed to do as he had said. The couple, having no choice, decided to do as Mr. Okoro had said. They called Sophia and informed her about the new development. Sophia was devastated as she had dreams of finishing her education and becoming a lawyer. Sophia cried and pleaded with her parents, but there was nothing they could do. She informed her uncles and relatives, but they couldn't do anything to save the situation because everyone in the village feared and respected Mr. Okoro. No one dared to stand against him. Mr. Okoro and Sophia's parents went ahead to fix the wedding date, and Mr. Okoro volunteered to sponsor everything to his taste. Sophia, who just finished writing her senior certificate examination, cried, fought and released some threatening words, but despite her protest, the wedding ceremony went ahead, and Sophia was forced to move in with Chief Okoro. Sophia's parents were saddened, especially her mother, but she wished there was something she could do to save Sophia's innocent and promising future. She was always praying and pleading that God should protect her and make a way for her. After Sophia's wedding, her life became miserable. She, being the sixth wife, was treated like a servant by her co-wives. She was forced to do household chores and care for Chief Okoro's other children. All this was done in the absence of Mr. Okoro because the other wives felt that their husband loved Sophia more. And being that some of the wives had daughters and sons who were older than Sophia, they were really bittered. Sophia pleaded with Mr. Okoro to allow her to further her education, but Mr. Okoro vehemently refused, stating that he does not have money to waste on her, and he also doesn't want her to go out there and mingle with those young boys. She was not allowed to make friends or even leave the house without permission. One day, Sophia was busy in the house as usual, working like a maid, when one of her friends back in the school ran to the house and informed her that their results were out. Sophia was reluctant and not willing to see the results. It's pointless going to check the results because I won't be using it for anything. I can no longer further my education, Sophia said in a very sad tone. But her friend went ahead to encourage and urge her to check her results, that she doesn't know what the future has for her yet. Sophia later managed to do as her friend had said, and to her greatest surprise, her result was the best. She emerged as the best student of the year, and to top it all, she was given a full scholarship to study in any university of her choice. Sophia jumped in excitement. She couldn't believe her eyes. She ran from there to her parents' place to break the good news to them. They were happy for her, but then reminded her that her husband, Mr. Okoro, might not allow her to go. Sophia's excitement turned to sadness. She had to leave to talk to her husband, though she doesn't know what the outcome might be, but she was ready to give it a try. She waited patiently until Mr. Okoro returned in the night, and after he had eaten and retired for the night, Sophia went to him and told him how she was offered a scholarship to study, and in that case, he wouldn't be spending anything on her. Mr. Okoro cleared his throat and plainly told Sophia that he was happy for her, but the fact still remains that she was going nowhere. There is no way I'm going to allow you to go to the university and mingle with those crazy boys, Mr. Okoro said to Sophia. Sophia went on her knees and tried to plead with Mr. Okoro. but Mr. Okoro dismissed her in a harsh tone and warned her never to come to him with such discussion again. Meanwhile, the other wives and their children were eavesdropping on them, and immediately Sophia stood up to go, they all burst into a very annoying laughter, making fun of Sophia. Sophia ran into her room in tears. She refused to eat that night and cried until daybreak. When she woke up in the morning, her eyes were very red and puffy, causing the other wives to laugh at her the more. Sophia continued living her life like a slave in Mr. Okoro's house, but one day, Sophia decided that she had had enough. She packed a small bag, and while the family was asleep, she ran away from the village. She just couldn't sit down and watch her dreams and aspirations go down the drain. She was determined to fight for a better future. While she was running without looking back and without any idea of where to go, she ran into an upcoming car. She was hit by the car and she slumped on the ground and fainted. The woman who was driving the car immediately ran down, and because it was already late in the night, no one was there. She wanted to leave Sophia and run away, but in a second thought, she decided to take her to the hospital. Thankfully, Sophia only sustained minor injuries. The woman stayed with her until the next morning, and when she asked Sophia who her parents was and how she can locate them, Sophia broke down in tears and pleaded with her not to take her back to her family. She went ahead to explain to her how she was forced into marriage and why she was running away the previous night. The woman, who was a rich widow with 3 grown-up children, had compassion on Sophia and took her along with her to the city. Sophia was made comfortable, and she was also happy that her children accepted her after hearing her story. They treated her like a little sister since they were all older than her. Sophia was overjoyed. She was happy she decided to run away from that trench called marriage. She was happy that she would start to chase her dreams of becoming a lawyer, as the kind woman she was living with had started making arrangements for her to secure the scholarship given to her, and while at it, she helped Sophia to locate an NGO who provides support for young women that had escaped forced marriages. With the help of the shelter provided for her by Mrs. Martins, the woman that took Sophia to her house, and with the help and support of the NGO, Sophia was able to go back to school and continue her education, pursuing her dream of becoming a lawyer. She was determined to work hard, study her books, and be the best she can be. Right in the school, she made new friends who were truly supportive and God-fearing. Sophia was happy that at last she was where she had dreamt of being for long. Sometimes, she would think about how her parents would feel after being told that she ran away. It really troubled her, but she was not ready to give up this opportunity for anything, or even take the risk of going to the village to see them. Mr. Okoro would not hesitate to capture her again. Back in the village, a thorough search was going on. Mr. Okoro paid some village boys to go in search of Sophia, and also promised that whoever finds her would be rewarded with a huge amount of money. Sophia's parents were the most worried, though they knew that Sophia intentionally ran away, but the thought of where she could be gave them sleepless nights. Sophia had no relative outside the community, and they prayed so hard that she doesn't fall into the wrong hands. They both regretted ever borrowing money from Mr. Okoro. Years later, Sophia graduated and became a successful lawyer. Mrs. Martins helped her get a job in a law firm where she started working. She was known for her dedication and truthfulness in judging matters. Many cases started coming to her table, and because of her intelligence and smartness, she won most of the cases brought on her table. As time went on, she started her own law firm, and because she never forgot her humble beginning, she bought a very expensive car and gifted Mrs. Martins, thanking her for helping her make her dreams a reality. Sophia was moved to tears as she remembered how her journey began. She imagined what she would have looked like if she hadn't taken the bold step to run away from Mr. Okoro's house. In all, she was grateful to God and to Mrs. Martins. Sophia made it her mission to help other young girls who had been forced into similar situations, and also to educate the upcoming ones on the dangers of child marriage. She created a platform where she gathered teenage girls to speak to them, and also made herself available that anyone who was going through the same issue she went through in the past can easily come to her for help. And she was working hand in hand with the NGO that helped her. Later on, Sophia decided to go see her parents. She bought a lot of things for them as she got ready to travel. When the day finally came, she made herself presentable, entered her car, and drove down to the village. As she drove along, old memories kept flooding her head, but that made her more grateful and happy for who she finally became. Sophia's mother was surprised at first when she saw that kind of car driving into her compound. But when Sophia got down from the car, she was shocked, and it looked like a dream to her. Her mouth was wide open as Sophia, who was full of smiles, walked up to her and called her name. Her heart was filled with joy, and she doesn't even know how to react. This is a daughter she thought she would never see again. They were both happy to see each other, and not long after, Sophia's father came back from a village meeting and joined in the celebration. Sophia narrated to them everything she went through and how God had helped her to become a successful lawyer. They were all happy and grateful to God. They also told Sophia how Mr. Okoro took the only piece of land they have because she ran away from his house. Sophia stayed for some days in the village, and before she went back to the city, she told her parents that she would love to go to Mr. Okoro's house to repay him the money that was borrowed from him, and both mother and father gave her the go-ahead order. On the day that Sophia went to Mr. Okoro's house, both him and his wives could not believe their eyes. They were all ashamed of themselves. If this is the same Sophia that ran away some years back, then God is truly a great God, they said to one another. Mr. Okoro lowered his head in shame when he saw Sophia and how rich she was looking. Without wasting much time, Sophia opened her bag and brought out some money, which was double of what her parents borrowed from him. She gave him the money and went back home. The next morning, she went back to the city. Few months later, she made arrangements to demolish her parents' old house and build a more standard house for their comfort. After erecting the building, it became the talk of the town, as no one has ever erected such building in the entire village. Her parents, including the villagers, were happy for her. Sophia's story inspired many, and she became a role model for young women in Nigeria, showing them that they too could fight for a better future and achieve their dreams no matter the obstacles they have faced.